double check that it did. Okay, there we go. Okay, now it's recording. Okay, excellent. So from a sales perspective, this is a really nice view for you as well, because not only can you see where it is in the process, but you can actually also see where your customer is. So let's say, for example, I've sent an application and I know they haven't signed it, for example, because I can see the stage that they're at. So you can see here, it shows you all the different stages. I'll tell you through what they are. So initial risk check means that you've initiated it, an application, and it's come through to your credit department to check before, to see, is there anything that we see on this client that's, glaringly obvious that it's going to be declined. So don't waste your time spending 3 months trying to get this client on board. Just, cut your losses now, or do a COD or whatever your company decides to do. But I'm just going to try and see if there's one where it's sent to the client for approval. Okay, so it says confirm customer details. What's really nice is you'd be able to click on it, and if you see this event timeline option, when you click on that, you'll be able to see absolutely everything that's going on with this client per minute. So you can see who initiated it, you can see where did it go from there, and let's say, for example, your client got stuck. So they got stuck at the financial model. You'll be able to see when they stopped and where they stopped. So you could pick up the phone and phone your client and say, hi, Mr. Client, I see you got stuck here. Is there something I can do to help you? Which is part of the sales process. And that remains the same from a relationship building perspective. Any questions so far? Nothing yet.
Amy?
Yes.
My dashboard does not look anything like yours.
On your action.
I don't have I don't have status reports. I don't have any of those things, yeah.
Okay, we'll have a look at that for you.
Thanks.
Just pop me an email afterwards, or we'll just put it in the chat for me so that I just keep that as a side note. But what you should be able to see, thank you, is, hold on, I see someone is joining. One moment. Did we lose somebody? Okay, perfect. So what is also really nice, if you wanted to, this status report button that you can see over here, that allows you to export everything into an Excel spreadsheet. So you can click on it, you can choose the date range that you'd like to see, and then you can filter on your name, because it will give you the information to say, the salesperson, the initiator, and you'll be able to see, okay, I want to see from the 1st of May until the 31st of May, where are these applications. You can download it and then open it up in an Excel spreadsheet to be able to move around and to be able to manage what you've got in the system, if that makes sense. So hopefully this will open. I know my Excel sometimes gives funny things, so apologies. I'm just going to show you what that looks like. Come along. Okay, so the first page is just a summary page of how many applications are in the system as of those dates. But if I go down to the application side, obviously this is just a test environment, so there's nothing really there. But if it was reality, you would see absolutely everything to do with your clients, and then you'd also be able to see who requested it. So I'm just going to scroll all the way to the end, and you'll be able to put on a filter and filter on your name, or filter on the name of your customer, or a branch, division, or anything like that. Any questions? Nothing yet. Okay, great. So that is what the Action Center is for. So from a sales perspective, a really nice management tool for yourselves, for your customer, and then obviously also for where they are internally. Have they been approved, not approved, declined, whatever the process is. Now let's begin. So I'm now I am a salesperson. There is someone that I have identified that I would like to do business with. I come through to the select a process. And here again, you'll decide what type of application that you'd like. So I'm going to ignore this new application. We'll get to that in a minute. And I'm just going to start off with a credit application. So I come through to the system and I can decide whether it is, if it's a company, or if I know the person is actually a sole proprietor and I have their ID number, I can search for them as well. So just for today, I'm going to say that we're using a company, and the company that we'd like to do business with is called T-Shirt. I don't have their registration number yet Or if you do, you can use the registration number and obviously it will take you directly to that entity. If not, when you type it into the system, it's going to look at everything that says tea and shirt within the database. So we are directly linked to CIPC. So any registered business, you will find them here. Any questions around that?
Yeah, what if the information that we have is actually different to yours?
In terms of the company name?
No, if we put in a registration number and
Yes.
and I've just done it, yours has come
Yes.
up as deregistration in process.
Okay.
And I've got it as active. I've got all the documentation with the different. Sorry. Yours still says Durban, and the one that I'm looking at actually says Nelspruit with that registration number, same director.
Same director. So
yeah. So where do we get the updated information from?
So we can always give you what is registered at CIPC. So if they haven't updated it with CIPC, then it's not going to update in our system because we have a live integration. So we don't manually change anything. So if they haven't updated it with CIPC, then our information will not be the updated version. But in that case, you can always send it to us and we can ask CIPC to have a look at it, but the client would essentially need to change the details themselves.
But doesn't CIPC update? They have to do the update with them.
Not all the time, unless they didn't do it through the proper channels. You know, you can change your trading name and not inform CIPC.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, not ideal, but yes.
I'm going to send that out. No, I'll send it to you straight after this.
Perfect, thank you. And then I'll have a quick look at that. What's also really nice about this is you get a snapshot to see is this company in business or are they not in business? So what does that mean for you as a salesperson? Because I know you're not in credit, so it doesn't make much of a difference to you. But what it really means, if a company is not in a good business status, meaning in business, and you give them a credit amount, should that company then close their doors tomorrow, and when you granted the credit to them, they were not in a good business status, you really won't have anything to stand up in court because the court will say, well, when you did your application, where is the form that says that they were in business? And then you have no proof. So therefore you gave credit to a company that is no longer actually a company, and therefore you would have a problem. Does that make sense?
Sorry, Amy, can I jump in there? So it's Sean here. I had one where I was trying to do it for the client, and their name is Martin Neft Agencies. So I was on there and I was searching for Martin Neft and I could not find it anywhere. So I eventually searched it by their registration number, and it came up on the system as Maggie Trust. Now, I spoke to one of the trustees, and she had no knowledge that their business was registered as Maggie Trust on the database.
Wow.
But then when I went through the whole process and you first do the check to see as to whether it's viable to open the account for them, then it ended up coming back as a negative score because of the fact that it said that they haven't been trading for more than 12 months. But this is a business that's been in operation with no change for the last 30 years. I mean, they've had an account with one of the other couriers here for 18 years, but yet the system threw out that they weren't even a year old yet.
Wow. So, I mean, I'd love to look at it, and if you wouldn't mind popping that to me as well for us to do a small investigation. It very much happens, you know, that the client doesn't even realize they haven't filed any return to CIPC, especially if it's a very large business. And sometimes these things fall to the crack and an accounts department has not submitted their annual return to CIPC. CIPC starts to deregister their business, and the company actually has no idea that this is happening. It happens all the time. We see it on a daily basis where companies are like, what? Since when am I no longer in business? Or since when has this happened to my company? Because they actually have no idea. So it's not necessarily, you know, sometimes it's a bit of an eye-raising factor to say that they should know what's going on, but sometimes it does happen.
Great, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so that is really where we are at with the in-business status. But let's say this is the company I want to do business with, not this one over here, and I click on them. We will pre-populate the information that we have as per CIPC. You can add in a website and then the contact name of the person that is going to complete the document. So you've obviously engaged with the client. We'd like to do business with you. Who is going to complete it? So for just test user, I'm going to be Amy Price, who works for this company T-shirt, and I'm going to be completing the document. So this is me still as a salesperson. I now submit this application, and I then have to choose the terms that have been discussed. So depending on your requirements, 30 days, and then the amount. So I just wanted to stop here for a minute, and Sadie, I know we had this question earlier around the type of report that's being requested. We have taken away that option and put the quick view for you. Does it not make any difference in terms of the value versus what we look at? So in terms of if it's anything between 1,000 and 20,000, a quick view with basic on-file information is perfect, versus R1,000,000 where you would need financial information or bank statement information. Do you ever run into a situation like that?
As I mentioned to you on a previous occasion, if the directors want more information, they will then tell me to run a comprehensive report or run whatever report. So they want the in-depth information, because once that information is attached to this documentation, it becomes public knowledge. And obviously some of it might be highly confidential.
Okay.
So we do the basic, and then we go from there at management discretion.
Okay, so it's not a standard, you know, according to your policy that in certain brackets you need specific information. It's only as and when your director feels there needs to be more.
Yes, because a lot of, you know, when it comes to over R1,000,000, it is a known company.
Yeah.
Or, you know, a known entity,
Mm-hmm.
and it may not be necessary to do it unless they have any kind of misgivings about what we're about to get involved with.
Okay. And at what stage would you then find that out? Because obviously from this perspective, you'd get all the basic information. Would you then reach out again and say, can we please also have your financials? How would you work in that case?
The questionnaire is supposed to ask for financials.
It does, but that's why I'm just curious to know, like, do you still ask for the information, but you only review it if you need it, or just out of curiosity?
Again, that's a management of all the documentation that I download.
Yes.
I don't download the financial information because it's highly confidential. So once it goes from me to management for approval or for further vetting,
Yes.
then they will decide.
Okay.
What they want to know. They will look at all the information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amy, sorry, I wonder if I can just quickly weigh in here. I think the approach that we want to take with this for now is at current is we want to get the Inoxico process running as smoothly as possible and as streamlined as possible for both the sales team, Sadie or finance, and the customer. So
yes.
I think for now we've taken a decision just to go with the quick report. And as Sadie's mentioned, you know, if we do require additional information, then we'll go into that process. But for now, in order to be able to streamline things and to eliminate or alleviate any kind of confusion around the process, we just want to try and keep it as streamlined as possible.
Okay, perfect. Happy with that. You know, the most important thing for me is that we've configured it to what you want, and I'm happy with that. Obviously, we want to add in our 2 cents worth where we think that something might be valuable to you, but this is your credit policy and your dictation, so we just want to be on the same page. Okay, and I'm sure you might have done this with Rian before, but for my sake, I like to just do it again. Okay, so this is the credit limit that we've discussed with our client. We're happy, we're going to initiate it. So now, as the salesperson, my job of initiating the application is done. It now goes through to a manager or through to credit to pre-vet and have a look, or to a sales manager, depending on your process. So I'm just opening up the email catchment area to do what we call the pre-knockout rules. Okay, so it has a look and says, is there anything on the Inoxico site that says there's something I'm raising with this client? And I'm just going to find that request, sorry, and show you what it looks like. Oh no. Always a delay when you want it to work. What's going on? Goodness me, just give me one moment and just see what's going on here a second. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Just going to grab someone.
While we're waiting for Amy, I just want to check, has everybody got, for those of you who have got any questions, concerns, or challenges around Inoxico, have you got that ready and prepared so that when we're done with it, that you can just shoot to Amy and just so that, and I think the value in that is that everybody will then be able to understand, maybe the challenges that they haven't faced yet, but will then, have a good idea of how to approach it or what the reasons for those concerns are. While we're also waiting, just want to check, are any of you currently logged in? Have you all into Inoxico? Just so that
I'm logged in, yeah.
just so that if there's a part of the process that you maybe want to familiarize yourself with, that you've got it open in front of you, and everybody is obviously able to log in. You've all got your login details.
Yeah.
Correct.
Sorry, Claude, I don't have any of that yet.
Okay, we'll just check with Amy now.
Yes, just pop me an email or a message and I will make sure that you do have that login.
Yeah, because I know the request was sent, I think about 2 weeks ago, Jakes. So, Jock, just do you have a login?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It was sent last week, Tuesday.
All right. Jakes, maybe just check that it hasn't gone into your spam or something like that. Just check your spam folders or junk mail.
Otherwise, I'll have to resend it either way. It's only valid for 24 hours, so I'm happy to send it again.
Okay.
Please, thank you.
Theft, apologies. It seems like someone else is testing at the same time as me and it's causing an error. Apologies. The testing environment is a very exciting environment. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again with you. Just let me know when you can see it. Okay, can you see my screen again? Okay, excellent. Yep. So this is what the pre-knockout rules looks like. So it has a look and says, have they been declined by Seabourne before? Are they in a good, valid business status? Have they been doing business for longer than 12 months? Have they got any court notices? If they're an existing customer, because obviously if they are an existing customer, you'd like to know that so that you don't look funny when, you're reaching out to them and say, oh, we already do business with you. And then obviously no listings found and any adverse business interests found. Okay, any questions on the pre-knockout rules? Nothing at the moment. So if there was something that we saw at this stage of the game that we said, either we decided we don't want to do business with them because you have a court notice, or there's something that we see that's not within our favor, we can decline, or alternatively, we can decrease the amount or change the terms that we're going to provide. So if you want to move forward. If everything looks good and you want to move forward, then the application will be submitted. Now what's happened is the application is being sent to your customer. So once it's done the initial risk check, it then goes to the customer. So your customer will now receive an email that looks as follows. So you also get an email, just by the way, to say that it's gone to your customer, and here is what they will see. So obviously everything is white labeled with your information, and they have a complete application link to click on. Any questions before we go forward? Nothing yet. Okay, so there's just an introduction page to say, you know, dear Amy Price, thank you so much for applying to be our client. And the first thing that we ask for is consent. And this is really important, especially with the new Puppy Act that's come into play. In order for us to be able to do the research that we do from an Inoxico perspective, is we need consent. So they will not be able to move forward without providing that. Any questions around consent? Okay, great. Now comes the client questions. So these are your internal questions that Seabourne would like to collect the data on in order for us to make an assessment. Okay, not all of it is relevant to credit vetting, but it is important for your internal company to get these documents. So here we've asked for a VAT verification and whether or not they have a 7 days VAT duty account. So everything is a drop-down arrow, so they can say yes or no. I'm just going to attach something here so that it'll allow me to move forward. You've asked around your questions around invoices. You can see where there's a star, it's either next to it or next to the name. That means it's a mandatory field. So that means the client has to provide some information in order to move to the next stage. Any questions around that?
I'm going to add something
So-
to that when we're done.
Okay, perfect.
So that email address would be the accounts person or who's receiving the invoices.
Yes.
Hello, Amy. I just noticed on top that are you able? Is the client able to change the credit limit?
Over here.
That's requested, yeah, because obviously the rep will put in the amount. If the client changes their mind, can they change that?
At the moment, there isn't that question, but it is something that we can add. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
So what we can do is what we call a custom question. So we add a box for them to confirm what credit limit would they like. I'm just making
That would be helpful.
Sorry.
Yeah, that would be helpful, yeah.
Perfect. Yes, somebody else had a question.
Yeah, when the credit application actually comes to me,
Mhm.
I don't even see the amount that they requested.
You don't see the amount they've requested. Okay, so I'll show you what that looks like on the actual document once we finished where it is.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. And then it asks the questions around POs, whether or not they use POs. And this is obviously really important for you to raise your invoices. Your puppy consent form. And this is important for you to tell the client that this is a downloadable option. So they download your puppy consent form, they sign it, and they reattach it into the system. So here is your puppy consent form. They will need to complete this manually, and then they will be able to reattach it. Because I have seen 1 or 2 applications come through where they just reattached the blank document. So it is really important to tell them that there is a downloadable puppy request that they will need to download and sign. And then once they have signed it, they can then reattach it. Any
Amy,
questions
sorry,
around
just-
this document?
Just regarding that puppy consent form, we have gone through a rebranding exercise, which is going to be released externally next week. So we just need to change the logo on that form.
Okay, perfect. That's absolutely perfect. There is also something that we can do for you around the puppy consent form. I'll show you what that looks like. But this is obviously up to your company. We can include it in our puppy link. So they won't wet sign your document, but they will still have to tick and confirm that they are accepting your terms and conditions. I'll show you what that looks like. So they won't have to download it and be a separate part of the process, but we can still update that in the meantime. Just letting you know it's an option. Okay, I'm going to show you what that looks like on the shortened version. Okay, the next one is a freight guard document. So this is an internal document that you would require. And then a agreed rates document. Again, an internal document of yours. So once the client has now attached everything that they need to, they can then click next. Any questions before I move on to the next step? Okay, great. So here we get to the confirmation and agreements. Okay. So again, Inoxico will pre-populate the information as per CIPC, and they are unable to change it unless it's a trading name and that's not registered with CIPC. They can add it in. But if all looks good, they can just move to the next stage. So again, registered address is grayed out. That is, again, what is registered with CIPC. However, they can add in physical address and postal address, delivery address, or anything like that. It can be added in. If it's the same, they can say that it's the same. And if it's different, they can then choose which address to put. Any questions on the address side?
Does it say registered company address?
So that's right at the top.
Physical?
Yeah, so the registered address is here, and they can't change that. And then the physical address and then a postal address.
I just wanted to ask something.
Yes.
Internally, we've got another document that gives consent for trade references. Sadie, is that something that we can then add to that previous page where we can ask the client to upload it there as well?
It's supposed to come after this.
Okay, sure.
Okay, perfect. I'm just making a note. Okay, and then so if they move on to the next slide, so here again the contact details. So who's going to be the contact person at this client? Not an accounting person, but who's the main contact person that you will have at your customer? And there, telephone number, and if they want to give a cell phone number.
On past trade references, huh?
It's coming up at the end. It's still coming on.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm looking at the printed version. Okay.
No, that's okay. Okay, so we didn't fill in this information. I'm just going to put mine just to make it faster. That's the primary contact person. Telephone number. Okay, so here is the supplier information. So who are their suppliers? So they can click on here and they can add in that supplier's name. Not a real person, just to clarify. Their average spend, the currency that they might spend in, should it be somebody outside of the country, and how long they've been doing business. Okay. Okay, so these are not mandatory fields, so I can move forward without saying, you know, my service and the description, but a lot of that information was mandatory. So again, they can add it in, another person, and so on and so forth, or they can continue from here. Any questions?
We require 3 trade references.
Okay.
So they shouldn't be able to go on from here.
Okay.
Unless they've done it.
Perfect. I know on the updated version it looks a little bit different, so I'm going to show you what that looks like, but that's no problem. We can make it standard that there needs to be 3, a minimum of 3, should I say. Okay. Now we get to the banking information, where they are required to upload 3 months bank statements. So we do tell them, you know, as an example, what are those 3 bank statements? And the reason that we ask for bank statements is as of the 1st of July, 2021, FNB no longer provided bank codes to third parties, and then following suit from that was Absa Bank. So the only banks that actually do still provide us with bank codes is Standard Bank and Nedbank. However, what's really nice about the bank statements is that we are also able to see more than just a snapshot. As a bank code is a snapshot, what is in this person's bank account as of today? They want 200,000. Do they have 200,000 Rand? Yes, they do. But it may come at a time of the month where we've just received money, but we actually haven't paid any of our debt. So does it mean I can afford 200,000? Not necessarily. But with bank statements, we run it through an OCR technology that we call the bank statement analysis, and we're able to see affordability, how much comes in, how much goes out, and when. It's what we call the headroom. When is that money coming in? When is that money going out? So if you've given them a 30-day account and they only get paid on the 15th of every month, we know there's no ways they're going to be able to give you your 30-day, like pay on time. So this is all information that we take into consideration when we do our assessment. Are there any questions around bank statements?
Isel did advise at the outset that this is not obligatory.
Okay,
Unless it's a
so it's not.
Unless it's a, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, yes, this and the financial statements.
Okay, perfect. Not a mandatory field.
Yeah.
Perfect. But from a sales perspective, if it is something that you can get and you can encourage your clients to give you this information, it does give you a better idea of where they sit financially. Okay. So then I'm going to move on to the next. What did I miss? Oh, I forgot to choose, sorry, the bank account information. So I'm just going to choose that I am with Absa Bank. Okay, and now I can move forward. Okay, now we get to the tax information. So we will populate the tax number as that for what we have according to SARS. And then we ask if they are VAT registered. If they say yes or no, they can also then move forward. So here you can add any VAT information if there is anything to add in. Okay, so I'm just going to click next onto the next question. Here it shows me the principles as per CIPC. So we will give it to them. If there is a new principle, they can add it, but it will ask them for supporting documents. So you can't just add whoever you want. And we will verify that as well. So if I'm happy with that, I click next. Now it asks your client, are they authorized to sign on behalf of this company? So what's really important to note is sometimes it gets said to me and I am the regional manager or whatever the case is, I can fill out the information, but I'm not authorized to sign on behalf of the company. I can then reassign it to somebody who is authorized to sign. So if I say, yes, I am authorized to sign, it will give me information. And if I say no, it's going to ask me who is the person who's able to sign. It won't take away all the information I've already filled in. They will just need to sign it. Any questions around reassigning an application? Okay, so for today, I'm going to say, yes, I am authorized to sign and I can choose who I am. So whether I'm Hasim, if I am not Hasim and I say other, it will ask me then to update with a copy of my ID and a copy of my board resolution. Okay, if I say that I am this director, then it will still ask me for a copy of my ID. And this is just for verification purposes to eliminate as much fraud as possible. Okay, here comes your terms and conditions. So these are your standard terms and conditions as you would have had them in a paper-based application. So the client can have a look and see everything that is here. And if they have any questions, we can always add in a dispute button, which you have. If they click on this dispute button, what happens is your terms and conditions get downloaded, okay, into a Word document where they can make track changes. And those changes can then be uploaded back into the system, sent to your company for review, and then you can make a decision whether or not the terms they have requested to be removed is something you can live with. Any questions around dispute and confirmations of agreements? Okay, I'm just going to remove it just for today so we can move nice and forward. I'm going to attach a copy of my ID. And I'm going to then say I consent to being performed by a registered credit bureau. Here are those T's and C's again that I can read. If I'd like to download it, I can click on it. It will show me what that looks like. It's going to download it here into the standard terms and conditions. So I can keep this if I want to. And then I can sign the agreement. So what happens now is it will send me a OTP, a one-time PIN, in an email format. And I can then copy and paste this in. Now I've signed the agreement, I still have to say next. And I can say submit. So it's just an extra step to make sure they know what they're doing. And now the client's portion of this project is completed. Any questions so far?
Amy, quick question. If the client is busy
Yes.
completing it and hypothetically load shedding, or they get interrupted and move away from their desk for an hour or so, and they come back and for whatever reason they've logged out, will it the site save their info, or would they have to re-go through the whole process again?
No, it will save the information up until the point that they lost connectivity, but everything up until that point will be saved. They just have to re-click on the same link and it will take them back to where they were.
Right, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so now what happens is the application comes through to Inoxico for assessment. We don't review internal documentation. So for example, the freight document that you've asked for, we would not look at that, as it is not a risk factor. So it's not something that Inoxico would take into consideration to say, this customer potentially might not pay you, or there's a judgment or anything like that. We look at anything that has to do with credit risk, if that makes sense. So it is important to make sure that your clients know that all the information that you need, your custom questions, are very important to your business. And if they don't upload it, and we have seen it happen where they've just uploaded absolutely anything that they like, and therefore, it doesn't actually help your team to get the right information. So from a sales perspective, it relies very heavily on you to explain that to your clients. So right now, the system is just saying to me that it's with Inoxico. And where you'd be able to see that is if I came through to my action center, I would then be able to see where is my application. So you can either search for it by name, or you'd be able to search for it by workflow, anything like that. But here it is, where did it go? In theory, here it is. Oh, it's already in overdues. Okay, so I can see here it's got online quick view, so that's the name of the report. So that shows me that it's with Inoxico. It does take a few minutes to generate it, even though it's an online quick view. But I'll show you what that looks like in a minute when it comes through. Okay, any questions so far on what that looks like and where you fit in as a salesperson? No. Okay, good. So what I'm going to do is, while that's coming through, I'm going to take you through where we're working towards, and while we're just waiting for a specific issue that we had on the workflow to be resolved. But this is the shortened version and the updated version of your application, and how we've made it easier for your customer. So for you, everything remains the same. So your process remains the same. I'd come through to the system. I would find the company I want to do business with. Let's say this is the company. So all of this remains the same. This is the person I'd like to deal with at your company. I'm going a little bit faster because we've just done this, but stop me at any point. I just want to show you what it looks like. So the terms that you've required and the amount that we're going to give them. So this all looks the same. So as a salesperson, I'm still following the exact same process. Now it's going to come through to my credit team to pre-vet for me. Okay, so let's just quickly have a look and see what happens when it comes back. So this is the old application that we've just done. It's now had its research report done, and it's now with your credit team, so with Sadie. So Sadie will click on the link, she'll get her email, she'll have a look and see which is the company, right, this t-shirt bar, what is a basic overview in terms of the score that we've provided. I can have a look at the report that's attached to it, or the full application. So if I click on full application, that's going to show me all the questions that we've asked this client. They're going to be here. And I know Sadie likes to print it, so you can download it into a PDF format. I recommend waiting because I know this is not the right format. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But you can print it and download it. And then all the documents that they have attached, they will be able to see it here. So like I said, it's always important to tell your customer to attach the correct document. So for example, this is the document that I have attached. Obviously, that will not help you. It will be very nice to look at, but it will not help you. So it's very, very important to make sure that the client, and when we're doing this assessment, that they have actually attached the right document, so that you'll be able to see that, as well as obviously sign your POPI consent form. At this stage, it's again up to your business to decide if the client did not complete it correctly, what should you do? So that's again an internal policy and an internal discussion that you can have. You can decline it and make the client do it again. If they'd like to do business with you, they should provide you with the documents that you need. Okay, again, it gives you the statutory information, their address that they provided, postal address, and all the questions that you've asked should be here. And you'll see the downloadable options are all in red, as well as the confirmation and agreement. So here is your digital signature. So should things turn pear-shaped and you were to go to court, this is what you would look at. There is also the URL to give you a bit more information on that. So you can see who signed it, what email address it went to, what company it is on behalf of, as well as your agreements. And then here at the bottom is the report that we attach. So the Inoxico report that you're used to seeing, it will then be attached there as well. Any questions on that? I know, Sadie, you did ask me to show you where to see the amount requested. So you can see here, it shows you the payment terms are 30 days and the credit limit requested.
I don't see the amount. There's payment terms 30 days.
And
then
here's
it starts with VAT verification, blah, blah. So it's got payment terms, it doesn't have credit limit, and well, currency doesn't matter, but it's not showing that. It's only showing, yeah, my printed version is only showing 30 days.
Okay, we'll have a look at that for you. That's no problem. Okay. So
Amy, sorry, is it possible to initiate the process with a 0 value in credit limit requested?
It is possible, but in which case, is that because you're giving them COD? Why would you give 0?
Well, you know, unless the salesperson maybe for some reason accidentally skipped that step and didn't put a value in there.
So I think that's also where it comes down to the pre-vetting. So if somebody put in a 0 value, then the person who's doing the pre-vetting check would also see that and would be able to change it. Again, even at this stage of the game, after the client has completed everything, we can still change it over here. So it hasn't yet been approved, but it can be adjusted. So whether the terms are going to change or the amount is going to change. So yes, it can happen, or we can hard code it to say that you can't have anything less than 10, for example, or 1,000. We can hard code it for your system, depending on what you'd like.
Yeah, I think that we would need to have something like that, probably a minimum of 5,000.
Okay.
We'll just discuss that internally. We might want to up that as well, but I think a minimum of 5,000.
Okay, perfect. So you can confirm with me what that amount is and we can build that in for you. No problem. So now let's say I'm happy with everything. It looks great. And now I'm going to click approve. So in this case, it would be Sadie who's doing the pre-looking, and now she's done everything that she needs to do. She makes a comment. If there's a specific comment that you'd like to make, you can, or just say, you know, account. And now it would follow your process of levels of approval. It would then go up one step to Helen and, you know, whoever else that you wanted it to go to, and then it would be completed. So I can then go back to the Action Center and show you that it is here. And therefore it sits now under the completed side. I can see that it's approved. And again, I can always go back in time and view that application. So for some reason, and we are working on it, it does change it around where previously you saw it said office use. It does change it that the company name is at the top once it's been approved.
And then it's still not approved.
It's still not approved.
Yeah. At that point in time, it means that Sadie has downloaded the information. I then still work on it. And
Yes.
only the next approver is the approver. I'm certainly not an approver level.
No, absolutely. I'm saying once it has been approved by yourself as well as the next level, this is what it will look like. So, and here is the credit limit amount as well. So what I'll do is I just want to see what happens when I download it and print it, what it looks like. And then the other thing about it is it will always remain in the cloud. So what's nice is, you know, if your printed version does happen to get misplaced for whatever reason, or God forbid there's a fire or something, I don't know, or rain drops all over it and you can't find it, everything will always live in the cloud. So yeah, when I print it, it looks, yeah, there's the credit limit amount as well as the company name. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, so I'm going to go back to show you what that shortened version looks like. So like we did before, we had initiated and now it's going to come through to the credit department to just do the pre-risk check. Think about it. Again, we look and see if there's anything negative. If it had something negative, it would give it a cross. If I was unhappy, I could decline or change. I am happy, so I'm going to submit. So now I'm going to show you what does the customer see and why is this now different. So I just want to close all the open tabs. Okay. Okay, so again, I'm now the customer. I received this email that I'd like to do business with Seabourne. And it looks like this. So you can see where it's very different. So instead of having a full page just to say hello and welcome, it just has the top piece over there. Again, we pre-populate everything as per CIPC for the client. All they have to do is confirm. Is that the company that we are? Yes, it is. Here is where we can build in your puppy consent. So if you click on the link, it takes you to the Seabourne website, as well as to the Inoxico website around puppy. So we can adjust this to have the information that you have on your downloadable document. And then all that they need to do is click in this box over there instead of signing it again, if you wanted to. Any questions around this puppy consent?
At this stage, we need it as it has.
Okay. So again, these are links. So if I were to click on it, it's going to take me through to the Seabourne website, and I can then see your privacy policy right there. Okay. So I'm just going to go quickly back to that. Sorry. Okay. If I'm happy and everything looks good, I click the consent button and I can move forward. Again, here is the credit limit that's been discussed with me. We will add in an additional question to say if this is not what you'd like, then please add in what you'd like. And here comes the financial information. So we're asking again for 3 months bank statements. We tell them which months we would like. It's not going to be mandatory, but if they are happy to provide it, we will take it. The same as it was before. Oh, sorry, too fast. Okay. Here are your custom questions that you usually ask for the VAT verification, whether or not it's a the 7 days customs duty account. So if I say yes, so this is where it differs on the shortened version. If I say yes, it prompts me for more information. Obviously, if I say no, it takes that away. So that's one of the big differences. Yes.
Can you just go back there, please, because it's a little bit ambiguous there. That number, okay. Then if they say yes, it'll ask for the
customs code.
Customs, okay.
Yes.
I need the customs, the sheet of paper, customs registration.
Customs registration. Okay.
Yeah, the same as the VAT, the VAT document. Sorry, I don't know what to call it.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to say,
Oh, I don't know. Claude, what do you think? I don't think we ever have to produce that actual certificate at customs. I think we only use the number, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that would be when there is an actual clearance that we would request that from them. But I see it is already asking for a copy of the import-export permit,
there,
which would,
sorry, below. Correct.
yeah, which would have the
Yeah.
customs number on it.
Sorry, yes, I'm sorry.
okay.
Okay, I'm good.
So you're happy with this?
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. So I'm just going to say no just for training purposes. And then there's the import-export document that they would need to attach. Okay, and then here we've got who's going to be receiving the invoices. Whether or not they use a PO. Again, so here is that POPI consent form that I recommend we take and add into the POPI consent right at the top. So it won't need to be a downloadable option. They can just tick to confirm, but you can decide at a later stage and we can still update it with your new branding until you make that decision. But again, it is still a downloadable option. So if they click on it, it will download it and then they can reattach it. Okay, here you've asked for a freight guard warranty document, as well as a signed agreed rates document. Is this a standard document, this rate document, or is it a specific thing?
Specific thing.
It'll be unique to each client, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. So here we ask around trade reference information. So here you can see we have put 1, 2, 3, 4. We've actually added in 5. So they would need to then complete this information. Okay, so that's how it looks very different on this version versus the previous version.
Amy, can you maybe just make a note there? Just if we can maybe just in a sentence under or maybe above trade reference or something like that as a header, just to prompt the client to say we would require a minimum of 3 trade references.
Okay. Okay, perfect. I can do that for you. Just for now, I'm going to fill it in, and then I'm going to talk around trade references in a second. Out of curiosity, when you have trade references, do you internally contact them or you rely on Inoxico to contact them for you?
I contact them.
Okay. And how do you find like the reciprocation? Do you find a lot of clients say, sorry, due to POPI, I can't give you any information, or you have a struggle to be able to actually confirm if it really is a trade reference or somebody's brother or sister?
There's supposed to be another question after the POPI Act, signing the POPI Act. It's supposed to say, please download a letter on your letterhead giving Seabourne permission to contact your trade references. Might come after this.
Okay.
And when I have
Yes,
that,
I can see
yeah,
that.
there you see the yeah. So then, if they give us, I see you've taken away the email address, but if necessarily then I phone, they say send me an email, and I send them an email and I attach that consent letter, and then it's very, very seldom that I'm actually turned down.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I've got a question. Is it required that we put in the credit limit for these trade references in there or not?
No, I get that. I get that
Okay.
when I contact them. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we do have it that a 100,000 rand customer will give us a 10,000 rand trade reference, and then we ask for more.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so here's your sample trade reference consent letter that you have asked them to download and attach. So we can have a look at that. So when they click on it, it's going to download it into a Word document. Sorry, sometimes it takes a little longer. There it is. So this is your document that you've asked them to then fill out.
I have to change that as well.
Okay. I'm just making a note. Okay. So then what they would do is they would sign it and complete it and attach it again for you. Now, I just want to chat around trade references and where Inoxico is going with trade reference information. So what we see and a lot of clients see is that trade references very often, especially if they don't provide you with direct consent, most of the time it's hard to verify that they are who they are, or they're only giving you the best ones that they do actually pay versus the 30 other that they don't pay. So what we've done is, as a registered credit bureau, we receive a large number of payment profile data. And with that payment profile data, so meaning how is this customer paying everybody else? And we can actually have a look and see how is the customer really performing, what credit limits have been given to them. So there's a lot of information that goes into the system that we would be able to tell you how they're actually performing. We obviously can't tell you with who, but we can tell you what they're doing. And for us, we see that as a much more reliable way of doing a trade reference than actually picking up the phone and saying, you know, hello, sir, do they do business with you and for how much? Because we can see. So Inoxico actually are able to give you that information using our data and analytics. And obviously, we can set up another time to show you what that looks like and how we're going to do it in our platform where we would give you that information. So it would pop up on your screen at the final page to say, you know, payment profile information says X, Y, and Z, which is a really nice way for you to have a bit more information on how this customer is performing. Any questions on that?
That might be an option. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, from our side of things, that's where we see ourselves going. We totally understand that a lot of the time it's still nice to ask for trade reference information, even if you're going to rely on the payment profile, that you still have this for backup. You know, it's also nice you can see what they've said, who those companies are. So it is something that we can always keep in for you if you wanted it. If you didn't want it anymore, and once you're comfortable with our next system, we can take it out. So just so that you know. But for now, we're going to say we're happy and we're moving forward. So here we get to the confirmation and agreements. Again, all your T's and C's are as they were before in the system. They can dispute it if there's something that they don't like. If they're happy, they just say accept. And again, at any point in time, this application can be reassigned. So let's say, for example, we do want the financials, but we're going to then send it to my financial director to complete. So I can reassign it to him or her, and you know, vice versa. So that's what's really nice about this reassign button. If everything is good, I can say that I'm happy to sign. Same process as before. I would choose who I am. If I am not a director, it will then prompt me for additional documents. And if I am a director, it will then say, no problem, please give us your ID. So where the glitch in the system is at the moment is that requesting this information, but unfortunately, when it comes through to Sadie to approve, those downloadable options are not visible for her yet. So that's why we're still working with the old system, but we're hoping to have that resolved very quickly, and then we'll put it back onto the new system. Like I said, it will not make any difference to you as a salesperson. It's just the experience that your customer will have. So as you can see, this is a much quicker process. It's nice and clean and neat, as opposed to like reams of pages. Sorry, this thing is right in my way. So again, I put in my OTP, I submit the application. And what's also really nice about this is I can also then see what I've digitally signed. So I can then save this application if I'd like to before moving on in closing the web browser. So as the customer, I can save this. All your content, the agreements, the technical details. So if they want to save it, they can. Any questions? And then again, it follows the same process. We'll come back to Inoxico for review of your credit information. We'll then send it back into your world. Sadie will be able to approve and move it on to the next steps. Okay, so that is essentially how the system works and where, as a salesperson, you fit in. do you have anything that you'd like to ask? I know we said we'd do a Q&A. I know we've gone a little bit over time, so hopefully we still have a little bit to add in.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, I think I'm just going to open it up to the sales team. So whoever's got any questions or anything like that, guys, you feel free to ask. And for those of you who need to drop off, you're more than welcome to. But I would advise if you can stay on, because I think maybe with some of the discussions that might come out of some of these questions would be pertinent to you as well. I see Leon's hands up first.
Okay.
Hi there, guys. Sorry. Yeah, on your workflow. So let's say, for instance, there's a couple of accounts that you know is not going to materialize. Does anybody delete it? Does Inoxico delete it by themselves, or do they get permission from somebody to delete the leads of the workflow, or how does that work?
So you're saying, do we delete any application? We only cancel an application that you ask us to cancel. So, you know, if like you accidentally did something and you want us to change it, we can do that.
Okay, so let's say, for instance, one of my colleagues, another sales rep, left, and he's had a couple of applications on Inoxico, and you've seen it's overdue, they haven't completed or anything.
Yes.
I want to try to revive it, but now I see some of it's not there anymore, so it's been deleted somewhere down the line.
But,
so does Inoxico
yes.
delete that actual after a certain amount of period, but do you get consent from anybody or just delete it at a certain point?
Yes. So what we try to do is to keep your system as neat as possible, because otherwise it will sit in your overdues and you're just going to have reams and reams of overdues. We've made it almost auto system to say after 90 days or 120 days, and we can change that, it automatically cancels the application. So we're saying, you know, after 120 days, if no one's touched it, it will get cancelled. It can always be revived. So if you find it and you want to revive it, if it's yours and it's under your name, or alternatively leave it cancelled, reinitiate it so that it will sit under Leon's name. But we try to just keep the system as neat as possible. So when you're looking at overdues or your current, that it's just as neat as possible.
I think, Amy, what we can maybe investigate is trying to get it to move into some kind of archive that it is still accessible. But, you know, as you say, that it still keeps it neat and you don't have lists and lists of applications lying there. Marcel?
Exactly. So it never goes away from the system. Okay. It's always going to be there. It will just be under the cancelled folder.
Okay.
Where is the cancelled folder?
So I'll show you what that looks like. If there is anything, I'm going to share my screen again with you. So it would be under your action center.
And Sadie will have access to that.
You all have access to that,
okay.
Yes. So under your action center, you'll see there's different folders. So you have completed, all other, and overdue. So specifically in this case, we don't have anything that's cancelled, just because it is a testing environment. But if you did, it would sit here under the cancelled folder. So let me see if I can show you in the live environment what that looks like. So excuse us, this is my login with live, so don't have a heart attack. I'm going to show you what that looks like quickly. Okay, so you can see here there's a cancelled option. Sorry, still not looking at Seabourne, don't have a heart attack. You don't have 11,000 cancelled applications. So here you'd see there's a cancelled option. So you have overdue, all other, completed, and cancelled. So all the cancelled applications will sit here. You can see at what stage that they got to. So let me just move this arrow over there. You can see what stage that they got to. When you click on it, you'll be able to see who it was sent to at the customer. I can then, this is not not an option for you, but we can revive it. So if I click on this, it will come back to life.
So how would any of our sales team, if they wanted to revive those, how would they go about it? Would they need to send an email to request that?
Yes, so they can just send an email to myself or to the support team and just say, I'd like to revive it. Obviously, if it's a salesperson, because we can see here who's the requester. So if this person, if Adrian is no longer with the company, you don't want it to go under his name. So then you'd want to redo the information.
Okay. All right, we'll put an internal process in place for that from our side. Thanks, Amy.
Perfect, no problem. So yeah, so it's never really gone forever, just so you know. Okay.
Leon, sorry, I was going to ask, Leon, are there any that you can't find? Leon's still there. Leon?
We lost Leon.
Hello, Naam, yeah?
Oh, there.
Yeah, I'll just have to go through them. I think there is one or two that I'm aware of, but I can't see them. But
I didn't see
yeah, I'll
Omnia
just,
this morning when I was looking.
yeah, Omnia is not there. And then there's also ones that the account's actually open, but it still says in final approval, but it doesn't say completed.
Yeah, no, but those we have to address separately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm just worried about the ones that you want to resuscitate. That's all.
Yes.
Okay. I can see Omnia is under Council's Omnia Group.
Yeah, it must be.
Omnia Group, and it was initiated by Leon for Leandre.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have that option of showing cancelled.
No problem. I will sort that out for you, but you will see it now. I fixed it. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. And then I see Marcel and Brenda have questions as well. Marcel, you are still on mute.
Sorry, hello Amy, I've got two questions. The first one is, if you can just refresh my mind, the timeline that a client has to complete, well, start the process, I think it's a week or so. And then what happens in the background if they don't start the process, and then how do we reinitiate it? Do we have to go through SAIDI each time, or how does that happen? And then the second question is, if a client asks, what is Inoxico? Who is Inoxico? How do they get access to our details and information? Just in short, how can we explain them what Inoxico is? Yeah, thanks. That's from me.
Okay, so the client does get automatic reminders during their week from us to say, hello, you've been asked to request this information. Sometimes, depending on the customer's security system, it may be going to their spam, so they may not even see your request and they may not see those follow-ups. So it is always good to pick up the call, like the phone, and say, hello, Mr. Customer, did you receive my application, yes or no? If they say no, then it's not a problem. Please check your spam folder. You can always say, you know, if it's been over a week and you if it's been over a week, you can always then ask, you can reassign it yourself. So you can reassign it back to the same person, and I'll show you how to do that. Or alternatively, again, you can reach back out to Inoxico on the support line or to me directly to say, please, can you help me reassign this either to somebody else or back to the same person. Perfect. I can show you what that looks like as well on the reassign side. I'll share my screen again. And I'll use the Omnia as an example. So you'll see here at the bottom, can everyone see my screen? There is a reassign application button. So you don't have this cancel application, that's mine, but you will have event timeline and you will have reassign application. So if you click on that, you can say, do you want to reassign it? Yes, I do, or no, I don't, and where do I want it to go? Does that help answer that question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great, excellent. And then who is Inoxico? So Inoxico is a registered credit bureau, and you can say that we've been contracted on behalf of Seabourne to do your credit vetting. So, yeah, so just a registered credit bureau. I'm sure they are familiar with us. 99.9% of companies who do credit lending should have a relationship with a credit bureau.
Can we say a registered credit bureau linked to the CIPC?
So CIPC is you can say we link to CIPC because it is public information.
Public. So okay.
Hello.
Linda?
Looks like Amy's disappeared. Well, she's frozen. Hasn't disappeared.
Brenda, what was your question? Maybe we can help you. Brenda. It's like we all disappeared.
So sorry, seems like my internet on my computer has died.
We can hear you, Amy, but you're frozen on screen.
Me?
Brenda?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can hear you
Sure.
now.
I was about to say a bad word.
Yes.
So my first question was similar to that of Leon's, okay, but maybe Sadie and Claude can answer my second question. So I'm sure there's a reason why the Poppy and Freight Guard is, why can't a client digitally sign those? Or does it have to be downloaded, signed, and then would it not be
So-
easier?
So
Oh, Amy is
go for
there.
it, Claude.
Hi, Amy.
I'm
No,
here.
it's fine.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think Amy did touch on the Poppy Act. We probably will look at going to doing that digitally, like Amy
Okay, yeah.
demonstrated earlier.
That
Freight
would be
Guard, we
nice.
probably will be doing something similarly, but you know, it's something that we would need to do from a Freight Guard point of view.
Okay.
So it is something that we are looking at, because at the end of the day, you know, like I said in my email to you guys, the reality is this is where we're headed. You know, as a business environment, is you know, everything's going to be done digitally going forward. So we are moving towards that. We'll get there.
Yes. The only thing right now that we highly recommend to clients is if you have customers that are going to sign surety, that you still request a wet signed document. So a downloadable document that's wet signed. And the reason for that is at this present moment in time, if you were to go to court, a digital signature is not going to stand up in court. It's just at that moment, it's a bit of a gray area around surety specifically. But everything else, including the credit information as well as your T's and C's, has been tried and tested with the digital signature, and it's absolutely perfect, as well as around Poppy consent. Any other questions? Good.
Nobody else. Cool.
Okay,
Eddie,
great.
thank you so much. Appreciate your time, and hopefully we can do some refresher training again sometime soon, especially once the newer version is up and running smoothly. And just to make sure that the team are continuously feeling confident in using the system, because I think once the team is feeling really confident, that'll translate to the client, and it'll just create a better experience for everyone, I reckon.
Absolutely. And what's really nice about the system from a sales perspective is that you can still have that relationship with your client. I know that, you know, there's that personal touch with giving them a piece of paper, and, you know, you can still initiate this. It can be initiated from your phone, from your iPad. So if you want to do it then and there with your client, you're more than welcome to. It's still an option for you. And then you can help them complete it if that's what they want. Those are all options. All available online from wherever you are, from whatever device, Android or iPhone.
Awesome.
Okay, great. Then what I'd like to do, the next session that's set up, I'm going to show you, and we can do it in a few weeks' time, I'm going to show you what we're leading up towards. So what we want to do with this credit application, and what information can Inoxico give you additionally to what we're doing now. Because as I said, we are a registered credit bureau, but we're also a data and analytics company. And so we've made a beautiful program, which we call Trade Shield, that has absolutely everything we do in a one-stop shop. And I want to show you what that looks like and what it can do for you. And if that is a direction you want to move towards, we'll take it slow.
Cool.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. Then I will let you have the rest of your day. I appreciate your time. And if you need me, you've got my details.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy.
Great. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Cheers.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye, Brenda.